Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into what looks like a major trade showdown between India and the Trump administration. There's a huge tariff threat looming, and in response, India's getting its game plan ready on multiple fronts. So let's get right into it. Everything really kicks off with this number, 50%. Just imagine that. This is the total potential tariff that Indian goods could be hit with when they try to enter the U.S. A move like this, well, it could completely change the game for trade between our two countries. And look, this isn't some far-off problem for another day. The deadline is apparently just days away. So it really brings up a massive question for India's economy, for our policymakers. Are we on the very edge of a trade war with what is our biggest export market? So let's break this down. What's really behind this 50% threat? It's not just one thing, it's actually a combination of moves that has brought us to this very tense moment. To really get the picture, you have to understand that there's already a 25% tariff in place. The threat now is that the administration is going to slap on another 25% right on top of that. And the date for that is August 27th. If this actually happens, India would become the most tariffed Asian nation by the U.S., a full 50% barrier on our goods. It's huge. But why now? Why is India being targeted so specifically? Well, the answer seems to go way beyond just trade deficits. It looks a lot like a very calculated geopolitical move. And the real target might not be India at all, but Russia. This quote, which is attributed to J.D. Vance, gives us a real peek into the American thinking here. The view seems to be that this tariff, it's not just about money. It's a powerful bargaining chip that they think can directly influence the conflict in Ukraine. So the reported strategy from the U.S. side seems to follow this very clear four-step logic. First, you put immense pressure on India with these tariffs. The hope is that this will force India, which is a major partner for Russia, to cut back on buying Russian oil. The domino effect they're looking for is to squeeze Moscow's biggest source of revenue, and by doing that, ultimately get more control or leverage over the whole conflict. With that deadline getting closer and closer, an emergency meeting was called at the Prime Minister's office to figure out India's response. Because India is not just sitting back and waiting. We have our own economic playbook, and it's ready to go. Okay, so one of the first big counter moves India might make involves our currency. It's an economic tool called rupee depreciation. Essentially, our central bank could let the value of the rupee fall against the dollar, which would act as a kind of cushion to soften the blow from those tariffs. Now, how does that even work? It's pretty straightforward, actually. A weaker rupee means that for anyone buying with dollars or other foreign currencies, Indian goods suddenly look a lot cheaper. They look like a bargain. In theory, this should give a nice boost to our exports all over the world, which would help to cancel out some of the damage from those higher American tariffs. But it's not just about currency games. India is also reportedly launching its biggest ever export promotion mission. We're talking about a massive 25,000 crore rupee plan. The entire goal is to find new markets for our goods and reduce how much we depend on the U.S. for our exports. And the response is happening on other fronts as well, you see. India has reportedly hired a second powerful lobbying firm in Washington to plead our case. And at the same time, we're hearing reports that the country is fast-tracking a free trade agreement with the Eurasian Economic Union, which, by the way, includes Russia, to open up completely new avenues for trade. But the strategy isn't just about economics. It seems India is also sending a very strong message on another, very critical front: our multi-billion-dollar defense deals. Now this is a significant pivot, a real power move. We are talking about two of our military's most advanced, high-stakes projects, the Project 75I submarines and our next-generation AMCI fighter jet. And what is India doing? We're reportedly choosing European partners like Germany and France over American companies for the most critical technology. That's a huge deal. So what's the message here? Well, the underlying message to Washington seems pretty clear. Strategic partnerships are a two-way street. If this kind of economic pressure, some might call it bullying, continues, it could have real consequences for America's defense industry. So all of these moves, both economic and strategic, they bring us right to the final countdown. With just hours to go, it seems like both sides are digging in their heels. And believe me, the entire global economy is watching to see what happens next. You just can't overstate how urgent the situation is. An emergency meeting to lock in India's final strategy is set for August 26th. And the very next day, August 27th, is the deadline for these new tariffs. The decisions made in this single 24-hour window could have consequences that ripple out for years. So what happens now? Is there going to be a last-minute deal, a diplomatic breakthrough, or is this the first shot in an all-out trade war? While a deal is probably what everyone wants, the message coming from New Delhi seems crystal clear. We have a strong, multi-layered strategy in place. India is prepared for whichever way this goes.